happening just moments ago.
Is a national health emergency. Unlike many of us, we've seen and what we've seen in our lifetimes. Nobody has seen anything like what's going on now. As Americans, we cannot allow this to continue. It is time to liberate our communities from this scourge of drug addiction. Never been this way. We can be the generation that ends the opioid epidemic. We can do it.
So what does this mean? Well, it's going to free up some grant funding is what it means. There are people that are living the hell of this epidemic every day. People like Becky Savage from Indiana. She lost 2 of her sons on the same day to accidental overdoses. Well, now she has started an organization, the 525 Foundation, her son's hockey numbers, which helps to educate teens and families about the growing problem. And Becky is back with us today. Always appreciate you joining us with your perspective. Becky, one of the things the First Lady just said, the First Lady there with the President earlier, she said, what I found to be a common theme is this can happen to any of us. And that you found out in the worst of all possible ways. For people who don't know your story, Becky, what happened to your sons?
Hi, Erica. It's good to talk with you again. My boys, Nick and Jack. Nick was 19, Jack was 18, and they had been attending graduation parties. The next day, I went to wake them to start getting on with our day, and Jack was unresponsive, and Nick was unresponsive as well. So they had decided to partake in some oxycodone at a graduation party. And they both had overdosed the next day.
And so now you actually travel the country, as we mentioned, educating teens, educating families about the dangers here. And I think your story highlights for so many people the fact that not only is everybody in this country potentially touched by this, but it can happen in so many different ways. Is there one thing in particular that you've discovered you can point to is one of the biggest problems in this country in terms of curbing this epidemic?
Well, what I found, and actually I just did another talk this morning at a local high school, and what we're finding is that the awareness, there's still so much awareness that is needed in the community that I'm finding at the grassroots level, where kids just are unaware, parents are unaware, that it is dangerous to take a prescription drug that doesn't belong to you, let alone it being a painkiller like an opioid. And so I'm, spreading awareness, I think right now is just very important right now.
And in terms of spreading that awareness, the declaration of the president today, obviously important. And as we said, this means that it frees up some grant money to help work on things and in a perfect world, overcome some bureaucratic delays, maybe some inefficiencies into how some of that is done. Where would you like to see there be a focus?
I would like to see there be a focus with educating some of the educators and parents, maybe educating some of the prescribers on prescribing practices, and just the general population in our communities as a whole on what they can do, to help with this epidemic, whether it be cleaning out their cabinets and properly disposing of medication when they're not used, and about the dangers of prescription medications when they're not taken properly. So I think just in general, bringing an awareness to the issue. I think it's great that the media is getting involved, because every time it's in the media spotlight, you're bringing more awareness to it.
Well, we hope so, and that is why we are committed to staying on it. Becky, really appreciate you joining us. Again, it is the 525 Foundation. I encourage you to look it up. Becky Savage, thank you. There are new, tighter security